What's up guys, Mattress here, and today I'm playing Parable, what's it called?
The Stanley Parable.
The Stanley Parable.
This game.
Thank you. And anyways, I'm joined by kazzd0g.
Hey guys, you might have heard me just then correcting my friend on what this game is actually called. I was the guy who actually bought this game because he's poor. I'm not.
Screw you. Now, if you guys have no idea about what Stanley Parable is about, kazzd0g's going to explain it for you.
Well, basically, this game is walking simulator. That's about all you do. The thing is, it's not boring inherently because it makes you question the mechanics behind first-person games. And I can't give too much away without actually spoiling it, so you guys just sit back, relax, and watch us fumble over the world's most fantastic game.
Well, yeah. Well, so far we're still waiting on a loading screen, so...
Yeah, this game is running on the Source engine, so for those of you who are familiar with that, that was from the Half-Life franchise.
This is the story of a man named Stanley.
Never mind, I'll stop explaining because the intro cutscene is on.
Stanley worked for a company in a big building where he was employee number 427.
You guys will see.
Employee number 427's job was simple. He sat at his desk in room 427 and he pushed buttons on a keyboard. Orders came to him through a monitor on his desk, telling him what buttons to push, how long to push them, and in what order. This is what employee 427 did every day of every month of every year. And although others might have considered it soul-ending, Stanley relished every moment that the orders came in, as though he had been made exactly for this job. And Stanley was happy. And then one day, something very peculiar happened. Something that would forever change Stanley. Something he would never quite forget. He had been at his desk for nearly an hour when he realized that not one single order had arrived on the monitor for him to follow. No one had showed up to give him instructions, call a meeting, or even say hi. Never in all his years at the company had this happened. This complete isolation. Something was very clearly wrong. Shocked, frozen solid, Stanley found himself unable to move for the longest time. But as he came to his wits and regained his senses, he got up from his desk and stepped out of his office.
Well, the good news is the game appears to be running smoothly.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
Well, I've actually played this game a couple of times, so I'm going to try not to spoil it for the rest of y'all.
When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left.
I reckon you should go the exact wrong way.
This was not the correct way to the meeting room, and Stanley knew it perfectly well. Perhaps he wanted to stop by the employee lounge first, just to admire it.
Walking down the hallways.
Ah, yes, truly a room worth admiring. It had really been worth the detour after all, just to spend a few moments here in this immaculate, beautifully constructed. But eager to get back to business, Stanley took the first open door on his left.
Well, the exact wrong way means not going left.
Which way should I go?
You should definitely go right.
This way?
Nah, straight into the wall.
Okay.
Nah, it's a secret ending through that wall.
Stanley was so bad at following directions, it's incredible he wasn't fired years ago.
I said the same thing to my McDonald's employee friends.
Look, Stanley, I think perhaps we've gotten off on the wrong foot here. I'm not... But in his eagerness to prove that he is in control of the story and no one gets to tell him what to do, Stanley leapt from the platform and plunged to his death. Good job, Stanley. Everyone thinks you are very powerful.
Whoops.
Oh, that was the most condescending thing I think anybody has ever said to me.
Stanley decided to go to the meeting room to check on his co-workers. He never functioned well by himself and constantly needed support and guidance from others, so the thought of total solitude was terrifying to him. When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left.
Alright, you should follow his instruction. I think.
He's nice, so.
No, he was rather condescending earlier, if you recall.
Yet there was not a single person here either.
Dear God.
Feeling a wave of disbelief, Stanley decided to go up to his boss's office, hoping he might find an answer there.
Can you go back to that board for a moment? There we go. How to solve a dispute with a co-worker. Let it blow up inside of you. Take it out passively, aggressively on other employees.
Using slides to assure employee that thing is okay. Make sure your slides are quick slide blue, perfect.
Everyone is unique, you most of all. They're all exactly the same person.
Let's just go.
Oh no, there's a few black people in there.
Which way?
Coming to a staircase, Stanley walked upstairs to his boss's office.
No, you're so mainstream.
Downstairs.
But Stanley just couldn't do it. He considered the possibility of facing his boss. Admitting he had left his post during work hours, he might be fired for that. And in such a competitive economy, why had he taken that risk? All because he believed everyone had vanished? His boss would think he was crazy. And then something occurred to Stanley. Maybe, he thought to himself, maybe I am crazy. All of my co-workers blinking mysteriously out of existence in a single moment for no reason at all.
I'm trying not to speak right
None
now
of it
because
made
it's
any
very
logical sense. And as Stanley pondered this, he began to make other strange observations. For example, why couldn't he see his feet when he looked down?
Oh God.
Why did doors close automatically behind him wherever he went? And for that matter, these rooms were starting to look pretty familiar. Were they simply repeating? No, Stanley said to himself, this is all too strange. This can't be real. And at last, he came to the conclusion that had been on the tip of his tongue. He just hadn't found the words for it. I'm dreaming, he yelled. This is all a dream. Oh, what a relief Stanley felt to have finally found an answer, an explanation. His co-workers weren't actually gone. He wasn't going to lose his job. He wasn't crazy after all. And he thought to himself, I suppose I'll wake up soon. I'll have to go back to my boring real-life job pushing buttons. I may as well enjoy this while I'm still lucid. So, he imagined himself flying and began to gently float above the ground. Then he imagined himself soaring through space on a magical starfield, and it too appeared. It was so much fun, and Stanley marveled that he had still not woken up. How was he remaining so lucid? And then perhaps the strangest question of them all entered Stanley's head. One he was amazed he hadn't asked himself sooner. Why is there a voice in my head dictating everything that I'm doing and thinking? Now the voice was describing itself being considered by Stanley, who found it particularly strange. I'm dreaming about a voice describing me, thinking about how it's describing my thoughts, he thought. And while he thought it all very odd and wondered if this voice spoke to all people in their dreams, the truth was that, of course, this was not a dream. How could it be? Was Stanley simply deceiving himself, believing that if he's asleep he doesn't have to take responsibility for himself? Stanley is as awake right now as he's ever been in his life. Now, hearing the voice speak these words was quite a shock to Stanley. After all, he knew for certain, beyond a doubt, that this was in fact a dream. Did the voice not see him float and make the magical stars just a moment ago? How else would the voice explain all that? This voice was a part of himself too. Surely, if he could just... He would prove it. He would prove that he was in control, that this was a dream. So he closed his eyes gently, and he invited himself to wake up. He felt the cool weight of the blanket on his skin, the press of the mattress on his back, the fresh air of a world outside this one. Let me wake up, he thought to himself. I'm through with this dream. I wish it to be over. Let me go back to my job. Let me continue pushing the buttons. Please, it's all I want. I want my apartment, and my wife, and my job. All I want is my life exactly the way it's always been, My life is normal. I am normal. Everything will be fine. I am okay.
Okay, are you done?
Uh-huh.
What? Damn, I'm still back in this room.
Stanley began screaming. Please, someone, wake me up. My name is Stanley. I have a boss. I have an office. I am real. Please, just someone tell me I am real. I must be real. I must be. Can anyone hear my voice? Who am I? Who am I? And everything went black.
Okay.
This is the story of a woman named Mariella.
Oh my god.
Mariella woke up on a day like any other. She arose, got dressed, gathered her belongings, and walked to her place of work. But on this particular day, her walk was interrupted by the body of a man who had stumbled through town talking and screaming to himself, and then collapsed dead on the sidewalk. And although she would soon turn to go call for an ambulance, for just a few brief moments she considered the strange man. He was obviously crazy, this much she knew. Everyone knows what crazy people look like. And in that moment, she thought to herself how lucky she was to be normal. I am sane. I am in control of my mind. I know what is real and what isn't. It was comforting to think this, and in a certain way, seeing this man made her feel better. But then she remembered the meeting she had scheduled for that day. The very important people whose impressions of her would affect her career, and by extension, the rest of her life. She had no time for this, so it was only a moment that she stood there, staring down at the body. And then she turned and ran.
What, no calling the ambulance or anything like that? You're just like, oh, I'm so happy to be alive, or normal, so...
Haha, you died, I'm normal. I'm just gonna leave you on the sidewalk.